You didn't move. You didn't say anything. You weren't even sure what you were feeling yet, just that heavy, undefined thing sitting somewhere between your chest and your throat. And then, from across the room, your dog got up, walked over, and pressed their entire warm, slightly too heavy body against your leg like they'd received a signal you never sent. The cold, wet nose came next, investigating your face with that specific kind of dog seriousness, slow, deliberate, like they're running a diagnostic. And then the paw, just placed on your knee. Not dramatic, not trained, just there with exactly the right amount of weight. How does an animal with no words understand something you haven't even said out loud yet? Most people land on an answer pretty quickly, and honestly, it's a reasonable one. Dogs learn your patterns. You said walk excitedly 800 times before a walk, so now the word alone triggers the tippy taps. You grab the leash at the same time every evening, so now they're already at the door before you've stood up. It's pattern recognition, impressive, maybe even a little eerie, but ultimately mechanical, Pavlovian, clever, but not deep. And we accept that explanation, partly because it's tidy and partly, if we're being honest, because the alternative feels almost too big. Like, what if it's something more than that? What if your dog isn't just reading your schedule but reading you? So it's pattern recognition, right? Except, wait, no. That's only accounting for maybe half of what's actually happening here. Because here's the problem with the pattern recognition story. It breaks down in situations where no pattern was ever trained. You haven't cried in front of your dog before. You've never modeled sit with me when I'm dissociating quietly on a Tuesday. There was no repetition, no conditioning. And yet, researchers at the University of Budapest, and this study genuinely stopped me when I read it, found in 2016 that dogs process human emotional faces using similar neural architecture to humans. They're not just reacting to your face, they're reading it the same way you would. Dr. Attila Andics and his team used neuroimaging, actual brain scans, and found that dogs have a dedicated region for processing human voices and emotional tone, structurally similar to our own auditory cortex. But the thing that really gets me is something called the left gaze bias. When a dog looks at a human face, their eyes move left first, the same directional scan humans use to prioritize emotional information. And here's the specific part: they only do this with human faces, not objects, not other dogs. Just us. Your face is literally a special category in your dog's brain. Look directly at the camera. I was going to animate that, but honestly, just picture your dog staring at you from across the room. You've already seen this. You just didn't know what it meant. Which means every time you tried to hold it together, smiled through something, answered, "I'm fine," out loud while everything internally was not fine, your dog was already running the full scan. They smelled the cortisol shift in your sweat. Cortisol has a scent. Dogs can detect it. They saw the microtension in your jaw that you didn't even feel yourself. They registered the half-second change in your breathing before you did. All those times you thought you were protecting them from your bad days, they were already on the floor next to you. They just didn't make it weird. Short pause. That's maybe the most quietly devastating thing I've ever had to say about a dog, and it goes both directions. This is the part that moves me every time. Miho Nagasawa's research, published in Science in 2015, confirmed that sustained eye contact between dogs and owners produces an oxytocin feedback loop in both species. Not just you getting the warm, fuzzy feeling, them too. The same neurochemical mechanism that bonds mothers to newborns is firing between you and your dog every time you hold eye contact for a few seconds. Even the smell of them is part of this. The Frito paw phenomenon. Yes, that corn chip smell your dog's feet have. Yes, it has a name. Yes, we're all obsessed with it. Is tied to the sensory anchoring that deepens attachment bonds. You're not weird for sniffing your dog's paws. You're biologically on schedule. And none of this was an accident. Dogs are the only non-human species that spontaneously seeks human eye contact when problem solving. Wolves, their closest genetic relatives, don't do this. They look away. But somewhere across 15,000 years of domestication, the dogs who could read human intent, track human attention, and respond to human emotion were the ones who survived, who stayed close to the fire, who got fed. Understanding you wasn't just affection, it was a survival skill. small smile, which explains everything, except why huskies have apparently weaponized this ability exclusively to argue about dinner. And yet, most dog communication advice completely misses this. Be the pack leader. Use firm commands. Don't let them on the furniture. Hold up a worn training book. Set it aside. All technically functional. All answering a question your dog isn't actually asking. Your dog isn't waiting for your command structure. They're reading the emotional weather inside your house in real time. The chewed shoes after stressful week, that's a response to you. The 9 p.m. zoomies when you've been tense all day, that's a pressure valve. The sudden sploot directly in your path when you're trying to leave, that's not random chaos. That is a dog who has read the room and made a decision. The zoomies don't come from nowhere. They come from you. Here's the part that should make you genuinely sit with something. If your dog understands you this deeply, without a single word, if your emotional state is what they're reading, processing, and responding to, then your emotional state is their environment. Your anxiety is the weather inside your home. Your unresolved tension is the air they're breathing. A 2019 study by Sunman and colleagues documented long-term cortisol synchronization between dogs and their owners. Chronic stress in owners correlates with elevated chronic stress in their dogs. This isn't me guilt-tripping you. This is just the data being extremely inconvenient. So what do you actually do with this? Not a training program, not a new command system. Just regulate yourself and watch what follows. Slow your breathing when your dog approaches. Make intentional eye contact. Let them do the full boop investigation when they come to sniff your face. They are literally reading your biochemistry and you should let them finish. Sit quietly. Hold the camera for a beat longer than comfortable. That pause you just felt, your dog lives in that. The muffled sleep barks at 2 a.m., the twitching pause, the small sounds from whatever dream they're in, that's them processing your shared day. You're in there. In whatever a dog dreams about, you're part of it. Back to that moment at the beginning. The paw on your knee. The heavy, warm body that appeared before you called for it. That wasn't random comfort. That was a response to something already read in your face, registered in your smell, felt in the changed rhythm of your breathing. They crossed the room because they knew, before you found the words, before you let yourself feel it fully. No command, no training, just 15,000 years of evolution pointed at exactly one thing. You. Here's what I want to know. What's the most specific thing your dog has picked up on that you never taught them? The mood, the moment, the day they just knew and showed up anyway. Drop it in the comments. I'm genuinely collecting these. No chart was going to capture this better than your stories anyway. And next week, we're going into something that surprised even me. The way dogs experience time and what that means for every single goodbye at the front door. Subscribe if you don't want to miss that one. It reframes everything.